and welcome back to Nice News, the show about all things happy and positive. My name is Steve Surridge, aka Mr. Happiness 2000, a professional happiness coach. And yes, you can be taught how to become a happier person. And alongside me, sharing with you all our nice news is...
My name's Kaie, and before we get started, I would just like to say a very big thank you to Naomi Boateng for yet another beautiful neck piece. Thank you, Mama Nay. And also to Naturally You, Paula, for my nice new bonnet. What do you think, Stephen?
Will I pass? More stunning than me. I'm lagging behind. I need to get up to speed with the UK. Yeah, so this week we are looking at stress. What causes stress, the indicators, the consequences of stress, and how to effectively manage it, all coming up in the next 40 minutes. But first, it's time to go back to Kaie, who's going to tell us more about this week's subject.
This week's subject is about stress, and one of my favorite mantras is, I'm too blessed to be stressed. And I especially like saying that when I'm around people who are always doing the, I'm so stressed out routine. And, you know, we all know those people, they're always stressed, they're always busy. They say that they're stressed as if it's some sort of badge of honor, as if you're not stressed, then somehow you're not living your best, most authentic existence. Well, I'll tell you what, nearly 3/4 of the population of this country are not living their best, most authentic existence because they're all stressed out. Now, that is 3/4 of the population. And these figures were taken even before COVID-19. So I'm hazarding a guess and saying that the numbers have increased. Work-related stress is the biggest category, and it costs the UK economy round about £43 billion every year. Now, don't get me wrong, stress is a normal part of life. Our bodies are designed to experience stress and react to it. And stress can come from a variety of ways. We've mentioned work, but there's also social media pressures, finances, family relationships, our own personal appearance. And I promise you, everyone, regardless of age, race, background, experiences stress at some point in time. And stress doesn't only happen when things are going bad. You can have good stress, like when you're getting married, or you're looking forward to a really exciting event, or at the birth of your children. And it's not just ordinary people who get stressed. Famous people experience it too. Recently, former First Lady Michelle Obama posted that she felt stressed and is kept awake at night by the pandemic, the continuing racial strife, and what she calls the day in, day out hypocrisy of the administration. I'm not going to say I'm with you, Michelle, but I understand what you're saying. Stress is also a multi-billion-pound industry. There are stress balls, there are books and apps to help you deal with stress, and the beauty industry, never one to miss a trick, they're now producing skincare and makeup for stressed out hair and stressed out skin. Now, a study done about a year ago by the Independent newspaper shows that the top cause of stress, as we discussed earlier, is work, followed closely by money, finances and health. 30% of people surveyed in the UK are more stressed out about money than they are about their health. But in the United States, 60% of people surveyed are more stressed out about their health. So with all of this talk of stress, what exactly is it? Well, it can be defined in a number of ways, most normally as a biological reaction to a potentially dangerous situation, or alternatively, a natural feeling of not being able to cope with specific demands and events. Now, these specific demands and or events are called stressors, and they can be what we call routine stress, your work, your relationships, childcare, that kind of everyday stress. A sudden stress where, you know, a family member dies or you unexpectedly discover that your position is going to be made redundant, or traumatic stress when you suffer a violent assault or you're a victim of war. And our bodies, as I mentioned earlier, prepare us for stress by producing what are called fight or flight hormones. So let's say, for example, you're walking down your high street and all of a sudden you're being chased by a lion. Then your body will produce hormones like cortisol and adrenaline to help you run, help you prepare for danger and to get away from this lion. But I would hazard a guess and say that not too many of us will ever be chased by a lion, let alone on a regular basis. But because modern day living dictates that our bodies operate in an almost continual state of stress, we are almost constantly producing fight or flight hormones, and that is not good for us. Now, there are two types of stress. The one that you really need to worry about, I mean, you need to worry about all stress, but the one that is a killer, literally, is chronic stress. And that is because it literally is a killer, as I said. It acts almost continually, dumping these stress hormones into your system, and is proven to be a contributing cause in cardiovascular disease, respiratory failure, and reproductive problems. It can also increase the risk of type 2 diabetes, hair loss, depression, high blood pressure, heart disease, which is why I said, literally, it can be a killer. So, how can we reduce this stress? You see what I did there just now? Take a deep breath and then let it out slowly. That's one way of releasing stress almost instantly, and there's a good reason for that. Taking deep breaths are proven to lower your blood pressure and your heart rate, which in turn helps to calm you down. There are lots of other stress relievers as well. Believe it or not, alcohol doesn't factor as a stress reliever, although, we do use it as one. But we can meditate, we can do yoga, we can go for walks, forest bathing, reading. At the end of the day, all we can do as human beings, do your best, forget the rest, and don't stress. What do you say to that, Stephen?
Yeah, no, that's interesting, isn't it? It is a huge part of our lives. Everyone these days is saying, I'm stressed. You can't go a day without hearing someone say that. So, but what the hell are people talking about? We sent our camera crew out on the streets and we asked you guys what it is about modern life that is causing you so much stress. We asked, what do you think causes stress and what's the biggest stress you've ever experienced?
To me, the build-up of stress usually results from like financial problems, if not knowing where like your next paycheck's coming from, or like problems at work which may affect your job or so forth.
Having problems at the office, trying to learn something or as a student and you're unable to make headway with that. Being in a terrible relationship with a partner or a wife or a girlfriend.
It's the way of our bodies telling us that we're facing something that we are unsure how it's going to develop. So whenever we fear our capabilities, like how are we going to live up to the expectations that we have in our minds about how we should perform this task or how we're going to face this challenge, I believe this is what stress is.
So the biggest stress I've experienced in my life was when I lost my dad, passed on, unfortunately. That was in 2014, and it was really difficult because it was a very difficult time in my life. I had lost my mum before then, 2005. It was very difficult. I had to take responsibility for my siblings and all that, so it just brought all kinds of stress you can imagine. So physical stress came in and all that. It was a really difficult time in my life, about 4 months, but yeah, that's the biggest stress I've ever experienced so far.
Finding work, I'm finding that right now because I've left uni. It's in my mind and it's kind of stressing myself out that after I've left uni, I'm not going to be able to get the job I want or in the field I want, because
I think that the biggest stress that I had in my life was coming to this country, since I am originally from Venezuela, and just coming to the UK, where obviously I had to speak a different language. I had to find a way to survive, to make money, to pay the bills, find a job, do the job which was difference that I wasn't accustomed to. And I think this is 100% the biggest stress/challenge that I had to face in my life.
What I found interesting about those clips, Stephen, is that it seemed to be work, money, with relationships thrown in.
Yeah, that's why I got that. Yeah, survival issues, isn't it? And great life changes, death or relocation. Well, we are joined by stress management expert, Dr. Baba, who's zooming all the way from Canada to join us today. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Baba.
Hello, Dr. Baba. Welcome.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Is that what is usually at the root of all people's stress? Change and challenge, would you say?
Yeah. Every time the status quo changes, at the end of the day, stress comes from an imbalance between the demands placed on you, whether it is money, whether it is relationship, whether it is work, what have you, and the resources that you have to meet those demands. Whenever there is a gap, there is stress. And the stress becomes important when not meeting the demand has serious consequences. That is when stress results. And as you said, Kaie, there is transitory stress or acute stress, and there is chronic stress. The transitory stress you will feel and not in your stomach, or your shoulders are tight, or feeling nauseated, what have you. But as you said, it is the chronic stress that matters because it kills you. What doesn't kill you can make you stronger.
So you work with executives to effectively manage stress in their workplace. But would you say the causes and impact of stress are the same whether it's happening inside or outside of work?
Yeah, it is pretty much the same. It is how you see the imbalance between the demands that are on you and the resources that you have, whether it is at home, whether it is in the relationship, or whether it is at work. This is the iron law of stress. Whenever there is an imbalance between the demands and the resources, you experience stress.
So if it's in the workplace, you can have two people working on a project. One person is stressed out and one person isn't. So is it mental? Is that the core of where stress comes from? Because last week we looked at self-talk and it kind of links with that. Is it our conversation we have in our head that we're stressing ourselves out ultimately?
It is mental, but it often expresses itself in physical terms. At the end of the day, stress is an attitude which comes from the beliefs that we have in our head and the values that we hold. When beliefs and values combine, it creates an attitude. And attitude always results in intention and in behavior. So, yes, it is mental, but it has physical consequences. It has psychological consequences. It also has societal and sociological consequences. So it is pervasive, Stephen.
So how do we know we're stressed? What are the primary indicators?
At the transitory stress, you know that you're anxious. You know you are feeling the pressure in your mind, and you feel the tightness in your chest and so on. But typically what happens is when the stress-causing episode goes away, your stress dissipates. But that isn't the issue here. What happens really is when the cause of stress goes away, the stress comes down, but it doesn't come down to the 0 point. There is always a little bit of residual stress sitting in you. The next stress episode starts from there, and it doesn't come back to 0 again. So this stress is building up in your system as we go. And
how do people usually cope with stress?
There is negative coping and there is positive coping. Sometimes people smoke, people drink, and so on. These are hoping that will fix you temporarily but doesn't remove the source of stress. Ideally, what I would like to say is you can focus on the causes of stress and prevent them. We can build resilience in you so that you can deal with the stress. Or you can seek resources to manage that stress. So there are three ways by which we deal with stress. One is to prevent it if we can. The other one is to become resilient, to deal with it. And the third way is to learn to cope with it by delegating it, time management, number of other things that we do.
Now that is brilliant. And you're going to share with us some techniques later on in the show to help us manage and even eradicate our stress. So we're going to come back to Dr. Baba. But first of all, it is time for some more nice news.
The next time you feel stress, play a game. Not just any game, but one game in particular has been proven to be a wonderful stress reliever, and it's a game called Tetris. Now, I've heard of this game, but I've never actually played it. I am told it's addictive. It's a puzzle game that works on the human desire to create order out of chaos, which is kind of cool when you consider that one of life's major stresses is feeling like we're not in control. So research out of the University of California shows that playing the game has a remarkable effect on a person's stress levels and on their performance on the whole. It looked at the game's effects on the welfare of the university student population. During very stressful times, like exams, the students were asked to play Tetris before having their levels of anxiety and stress measured. And by playing Tetris, overworked individuals often experienced a significant reduction in stress and an increase in positive emotions. Now, there's another game that is said to be equally as good at stress busting. And I know Stephen will love this one because it's one of his favorite games. It's Lego. Apparently, Lego have decided to target stressed out adults. They're selling unique sets so that people can easily build themselves into a very zen state at home or at work using those little bricks. So, Stephen, I know what to get you for your birthday.
Wow, so those Zen Lego sets, are they going to be alongside the Harry Potter and the Star Wars?
I didn't actually ask, but I can ask a question for you if you want. As I said, we'll have a whip round and buy you some more Lego for your birthday. How's that?
That's cool. I'm happy with that. Wow.
Yep, I've got another one for you. You know, whenever I do my stories, I like to have one that will engender a bit of a laugh. And this one is about sending your lockdown scream somewhere. Now, in stress, one of the things that, you heard me earlier, take a deep breath. Screaming, apparently, is also very good to just let it all out. And Iceland, the country, not the supermarket, have decided that because 2020 has been such a challenging year, it wants you to send them your screams. Now, it's not as crazy as it sounds. What is going to happen is that it's inviting people from around the world to let off steam by recording their screams and then having them played over a loudspeaker in a remote part of that country, because they think that Iceland is the perfect place for us to let out our frustrations. I kind of get the impression that if even half the people who find out about this take up this challenge, the peace and quiet of Iceland is going to be shattered beyond belief, because there's going to be a lot of screams.
Wow. I've been to Iceland. It is quite quiet, but not anymore.
Not anymore.
I may not be using that as a future destination. No, thank you, Kaie. That's brilliant. So when we were on the streets, we also asked Joe Public, what impact did stress have on your life and how did you handle it? This is what our people said.
It really, really impacted me in such a way that my scope and the way I understood life changed drastically. I saw life to become, you're here 1 minute, next minute you're not. So you've got to do what you've got to do to make the most use of your time. So after going through a very tough emotional period of my life, it just changed me drastically. I became quite responsible really responsible. I took the reins and, became the head of my family, had to provide for my siblings, went into different business ventures, became more stronger, psychologically, physically. Also helped me to face my fears, basically, in everything I did. I make some very strategic moves, that brought me to, progress in life and then, to be who I am today. It was a very tough period of time, going through that stress, but somehow I was able to change that and turn around the narrative of my life, and then, became positive at the end of the day.
The impact that stress has on my life causes sleepless nights. Obviously, my food intake is affected. I'm not eating as much as I should do, or sometimes eating too much to comfort eat. Also, my mind starts to wander if I'm at work or so forth. I'm not thinking about what I'm doing. If I'm listening to music, I'm not actually listening to it. My mind's just on elsewhere. How I deal with stress and the pressures of stress is I have a 30-second rule where I literally pause for 30 seconds and think about how I can improve the situation, calm down. Also, I do breathing exercises, that helps out. Going to the gym, playing football and so forth, that helps as well because it takes your mind off it. And also like thinking that nothing gets as bad as it first seems and things will always be better. And so looking at the whole picture instead of just the bad bits.
Well, this is a bit where we come to the audience now. We are doing a poll with our audience, and this has come from Dr. Baba, so we're going to involve him. And there's 5 stress-related questions, so you can choose one of 4 answers, all of you. So the first question, and you can join in at home as well with this. So Dr. Baba's going to explain how this shows how stressed you are. So you got one of 4 options. So question 1 then, I often feel nervous as a result of my job. How true is that to you? Is it never, sometimes, often, or always? Vote now, as they say on those shows. Okay. Question number 2, my job gets to me more than it should. Is that never, sometimes, often, or always? Vote now. Number 3, I feel guilty when I take time off. Vote now. Number 4, I have too much work to do and too little time to do it in. Vote now. And number 5, I feel like I never have a day off. So those are the stress-related questions, and we're going to review those in a moment with Dr. Baba. We're going to share the results.
Okay.
So what have we got here? So number 1 then, I often feel nervous as a result of my job. 86% said sometimes.
Wow.
Okay, my job gets to me more than it should. What's that? We got a tie of sometimes and often at 43%. I feel guilty when I take time off, often 43%. That was the biggest answer there. And I have too much work to do and too little time to do it in. Sometimes was 57% there. And I feel like I never have a day off. That was often 43%. Dr. Baba, what does that feedback tell you about our audience?
This communicates clearly that everybody is experiencing a substantial amount of stress. The survey tells me that they all need to do something about the stress, either build resilience or cope or manage or seek help. This is quite a high number. Practically everybody is feeling some stress or the other. To some extent, some stress is good. As Kaie said at the beginning, it is what you call eustress, like in euphoria, it's good. But stress reaches a point. It's like as stress increases, your motivation increases, your performance increases, and so on. And then you reach a sweet spot where you are at the optimum. Your stress is at a certain level where your performance is very good. You are practically in the zone. But then when uncertainty comes more, you are experiencing other demands that you cannot meet, stress increases, and your performance declines. This is what I'm seeing. People seem to be on the declining level as opposed to on the ascending level of the curve. So something needs to be done.
Okay, so you're going to help us do that later on then. Let's now look at the other one. This is about burnout then. So question number 1, I feel emotionally drained from work. Never, sometimes, often or always. I often feel used up at the end of the day. Vote now. Are you voting? No one's voting. Are you voting?
I am.
Okay, sorry, I can't see it. Okay. Number 3, I worry that the job is hardening me emotionally. That's quite an interesting question.
Yeah, that is a good one.
Vote now.
Yeah.
I don't feel I am accomplishing much at work. That's been the story of my life. My God.
Don't say that out loud, Stephen.
Yeah. Number 5, last but not least, I feel like I am, so you're acknowledging, I feel like I am slowly burning out. Everyone vote. Yeah, cool. Right. Okay. So let's end the polling and let's share the results for that one. So number 1, the biggest answer was, I feel emotionally drained at work often.
Often. Wow.
7% said that. Number 2, I feel used up at the end of the day. Always and sometimes.
Sometimes got a tie, yeah.
Yeah. All right, number 3, I worry that the job is hardening me emotionally. No, never. That's a positive, isn't it? 50% said not really. And number 4, I don't feel I am accomplishing much at work. I would contribute to always. Well, it gets hard. So sometimes and always. That's quite interesting. And then the last one, number 5, I feel like I am slowly burning out. Right, so we've got a 33%
on all of them, on most of them, yeah.
Sometimes and always.
Wow.
So what does that show us, Dr. Baba, about burnout?
Typically what happens is when you are stressed and your stress is unresolved, you slowly move toward burning out. You're burning out, you are emotionally exhausted. And when you are emotionally exhausted, you put a distance between yourself and those who you serve. And that creates a sense of, well, I'm not doing much. I'm not exactly earning my keep. I'm not attending to the calling that I signed up for, and so on. Burnout is a more serious thing. Burnout is the end state of stress. So what I tell my clients is, when stress sets in, start doing something about it so that it doesn't result in burnout. Burnout is the exit stage. And I'm looking at the numbers, and in just about every category, more than 50% are often and always. And that is serious. So we need to do something about dealing with the stress so that it doesn't result in burnout.
So this is an area which our culture needs to educate itself in, would you say? That we're all quite naive, that we just, we're all like working long hours at work. We're we're feeling the indicators of stress, the tensions, the headaches, the burnout, the fatigue, and yet we're ignoring it. We're not doing anything. So we need much more education around all this within our society. So you're going to suggest now 3 techniques to effectively help us start managing our stress levels and improve our lives, Dr. Baba. So over to you. What is technique number 1?
Technique number 1 is work-life balance. We need to make sure that there is balance in our life. We give enough time to work activities, intellectual activities, leisure activities, spiritual activities. Where there is balance, there is resilience. And the second technique is engage in activities that strengthen us. It could be gym. You could go and do some working out. It could be for your mind. As Kaie said, you can engage in meditation. And you could also start building relationship, and relationships enrich your life and also allow you to cope with the stress. I often look to my friends when I'm stressed to deal with it.
No, that's brilliant. Thanks so much. So this is really interesting, isn't it? Because we said it at the very beginning when we were talking self-care.
Yeah.
Hey, we were saying this, weren't we? We were saying that a big part of self-care is play. That adults play more. You mentioned Lego and Tetris today.
Yeah.
Dr. Baba's mentioning that we have to kind of find a way of just unwinding. And then we can all be so stiff and starchy and responsible adults and being very responsible and serious.
Yeah,
So
and we
our detriment, isn't it?
We do definitely need play, and I think that, you know, however your play manifests itself, it's really funny. During the lockdown, I saw a couple of my neighbours who have children running around outside with them, and they looked like they were having more fun than the kids were. And you know, we have this thing where adults are not supposed to have fun and kids are, so it was almost like there was a role reversal. But that's the kind of thing that stops us getting stressed, keeps us young, and will have us having, you know, living to our 70. I mentioned earlier in the show that modern day life has almost conditioned us to believe that we need to be stressed. And when you don't take on stressful things, when you move yourself away from them, yes, people will look at you side-eyed, but it's like, you know what, if I continue like you, I will end up dead. And that's not really where I want to be right now. So yeah, play, you know, get your Tetris, get your Monopoly, get your Lego, you know, Zen Lego. You know, do for me, how I don't get stressed these days, I have to admit. I do have low moods, but I don't get stressed. And I find that I will tend to get more stressed on the mornings where I don't make time to meditate. I've noticed that. So meditation is an integral part of my self-care. And once I get that done, I can try and I have a better job of being Zen for the rest of the day.
I was going to say, because I'm a happiness coach and I want to share a tip. I think, you know, I asked you at the start of this show whether it was mental. And I do think it's judgment. I think, you know, we all can be control freaks and we should think, I should be doing this, but I'm here. And that sort of that not accepting reality. And I think if you just accept every moment as perfect and eradicate the mental judgment, the mind chatter that's saying, why aren't you doing, you're not good enough, then you don't have stress. It's almost like you just, and again, if you just see that, you know, if you know that you're going to move into improvement, okay, there's a challenge, it's a bit daunting to begin with, but you just accept it, see life as perfect. Again, it's a subject we need to look at, isn't it? Like faith, trusting in the inevitable. I think that's where.
Well, does it not all come back as well to what we were talking about last week, the way we talk to ourselves, that internal narrative that we go on? I think it'd be good if we brought some of our audience in and see what, if anything, stresses them out and how they cope with it.
You can choose then. Who do you want to go to?
Okay, I'm going to go with Caroline Wood.
Hi, hello.
How are you? Thank you for joining us.
That's okay.
Are there any things in particular that stress you out? And if so, how do you try to combat that?
Yeah, it's literally what you were just saying. I think you've got to have 5 minutes of fun. Just go away and just be silly, be creative. It doesn't matter if you're good at it or bad at it. It doesn't matter. Have a go. I've got so many little silly pots around the place, and I've made some silly little rugs and things like this, but they're not very good, but they've given me a bit of pleasure. And
can I just say, Caroline, you know, last week we were talking about the way we talk to ourselves. Now you've got pots that you use to help you get rid of stress. They're not silly. They're not very good. You've put your love and your care into them, so they are the best thing since sliced bread. That's what I want you to say, and that's what I want you to think when you look at your pots, okay?
Yeah.
My pots are perfect. My
pots are perfect.
They are, they really are.
You know, my pots are perfect. My pots are perfect. I'm talking again about how you relieve stress. Those of you who know me know that I love nothing more than the beach and the sea. That's my total happy place. As a matter of fact, I've told my mother when I die, if she can't bury my ashes in the back garden of her house, she is to scatter my ashes in the Caribbean Sea. And the beach has been proven as one of the best places to beat stress. University research from the University of York says that spending just 30 minutes at the beach or doing something like watching nature or marine life, but the beach got the highest number of votes, can improve both your mood your well-being, and reduce stress. I was actually at the beach on Friday. We went down to Broadstairs. I was a little stressed because the beach was kind of heaving, but we managed to section off our own little area, and it was really lovely and relaxing. I just love being by the water. I really do. So let's pack our buckets and spades and head to the beach.
Yeah, you've made me jealous now. I haven't been to the beach for a while, but I've got a holiday booked at Christmas to Gran Canaria. So
Gran Canaria,
the beach
right?
is coming. The beach.
The beach is coming.
Have you got a story for us, Kaie?
Yeah, just one more. I don't know how many of you. Well, I know Chris has dogs and a cat, I believe. But apparently, owning a pet can help to lessen your stress as well. They've long been used in therapies, and the joy that pet owners get from their animals is incomparable. But it's not just the joy that they get, because studies have shown that owning a pet or being around one helps to reduce stress. Students at Swansea University have teamed up with a local dog rescue centre to help students relieve their stress. Before the lockdown, the University of Bristol offered a puppy room to stressed out students to aid relaxation and calmness. And a number of US universities have created Pet Your Stress Away programs. And this is where students can interact with cats and or dogs to help them alleviate some of their stress. Scientists at Washington State University recently published results of a study that showed that in addition to improving the students' mood, interacting with cats and dogs had a significant reduction in cortisol, which is one of those major stress hormones that the body produces that I discussed earlier, that is good in small doses. Cortisol is a bit like chocolate, good in small doses, but too much of it, no. So
I'm not sure if you've noticed the amount of animal videos I've been putting on the Facebook group.
Yes.
Little cat. I know you don't like the cat ones, but I love the cat ones.
I don't mind cats. I mean, I would love to have a dog, but I'm not one of those people that likes those little dogs that you put in handbags. Give me a Weimaraner or an Alsatian or a dog I can see coming. You know.
I like those some dogs. They turn into handbags, isn't there? Or...
Oh, Stephen, that is not nice. But true. Yes.
Let's bring in Dr. Baba one last time before we go. So I've unmuted you, Dr. Baba. So one final piece of advice to our audience. What would you say that they can do to make sure they're effectively managing their stress?
Stephen, I'm not a praying man. But the Serenity Prayer captures the essence of it. We've talked about change, and we talked about having control. We talked about managing that. You know, the Serenity Prayer says, God grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Yes.
This is stress management in a nutshell for me.
So it is mental then. It is if we... mentally in our minds, we choose to accept, not try to control the uncontrollable, rather than...
Yeah. Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly, Stephen. You alluded to that already.
I did. I just wanted to do a 40-minute show to confirm. That's my play. That is my play. Me not getting stressed out. No, that's brilliant. Thank you so much, Dr. Baba, for joining us this week. We'll have to get you again in the future. So that is it for another week. Hopefully we haven't stressed you out all too much. If I just thank all our contributors, Dr. Barbara again, our team of volunteers who have been beavering away behind the scenes this week.
Thank you all very much.
And of course, thank you, the audience as well, for watching and voting. And it's going to be available on demand so you can watch it again. Next week, we are revisiting the subject of gratitude and appreciation with a show called Celebrating Life. Join us for that. And hint, we have one celebration we haven't forgotten about. So that's going to be on the show next week. We want to receive your feedback, ideas for the show, topics, etc. And you can contact us by email here. That should be at the bottom of the screen on the playback. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook here. And our YouTube channel is here. I'm going to do an amazing and now stress-free. Over to you, Kaie. You get the final word as always.
Thank you, my lovely. And I will finish how I started. Just remember, we are all of us too blessed to be stressed.